July has not been a great reading month. I'm just gonna say that up front. Hi everyone, my name's Chloe, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here today. Today's video is going to be my July reading wrap up. July has not been my strongest month, it's actually been my weakest month of the year so far. I had a lot going on in July, a lot of good stuff, like obviously if you've watched any of my previous content and in my vlogs, you'll see I went away a few times at the beginning of July. I went to Yalk for like 4 or 5 days, however long it was Thursday through Monday, so that definitely impacted my reading. I've also just had like stuff going on at work and things like that, so plenty of things that have meant I haven't read very much. I did fail my TBR, MASH TBR. I've already sorted that and taken a punishment. There is my August TBR is up there that you can go and have a look at and see what I'm ended up reading in August to make up for the fact that I didn't read everything I wanted to read in July. Basically, what I'm going to talk to you about for my reading today is the majority of my TBR MASH books plus one extra, and that is all I managed to read in the month. Like normally I'll do my TBR MASH ones and then I'll have some extras as well. I got one extra and that is because I listened to it on audiobook when I was travelling to and from London. But there's not much to talk about. We're just going to give you some stats. I will say that I am actually still in the middle of 2 books. I'm filming this on the 31st. I still have 2 books left to complete. I am hoping to finish them today, and this video should be going up tomorrow on the 1st of August. So what I'm going to do is if I do finish those, I'm going to film a clip and insert it at the end. But the stats that I'm going to give you at the minute is based on finishing those books, because I think either way I'm going to count them in July's stats just to make things easier. I read 8 books in total during the month of July. To put that in context, I'm usually reading like 10 to 13, so I know it's not really like that much less. And I've actually had another month this year where I only read 8 as well, but it just felt a lot slumpier. I felt like there was a much bigger gap of time where I wasn't reading. I just had a check actually in page count. This isn't my worst month. I'm saying it is, but it's not. It's only just over though. Like it's literally 20 pages more than it was in March. I read a total of 3,774 pages this month, which is an average of 121 pages per day. Now, again, to put that in context, for the year, I am at an average of 155 pages per day. So it's definitely a drop. And considering last month I read like 6,000 pages, we're almost half in what I was doing last month, which is not fantastic, but I'm hoping to get back onto it in August. We will see. If you've seen my TBR, you'll know I am a bit like unsure whether that's actually going to happen. For the format of books that I've been reading this month, I have read 1 completely audio, 4 that were a mixture of audio and physical, and then 3 that were completely physical. For the age range, we have got 2 young adult, 1 new adult, and then 5 adult. That didn't sound right to me, but I've just counted and apparently it is. Then for star ratings, as I said, I'm still in the middle of 2 of them. I'm not even going to guess what my star rating is for them yet because I'm not far enough into either of them to have like a concrete idea. So I'm just going to give you the numbers based on what I have already read, so the 6 I have actually finished. I've got 1 2-star book and I've actually realised that it is the only book I've rated 2 stars this year, and I know I'm gonna upset some people when I talk about it later on in this video, so we're just gonna move past the fact that it's my lowest rated book of the year. We then have got 2 3-star books, 1 4-star and 2 5-stars. One of the 5 stars, by the way, was a reread, so really it's 1 5-star and then 1 5-star reread. But it does mean that my average star rating so far this month is a 3.67, which is the lowest I've had so far this year. Obviously the beam because I've read my lowest rated book of the year. But I've also like read my highest rated book of the year, but that is the reread. So it's all over the place. Right, let's move on to actually talking about the books that I read. The first book that I read this month took me until like the 11th of the month to finish. That's giving you an idea of where I'm at with my reading. And I was listening to it on audio as well, so I don't even have an excuse for why it took me so long. I started it on the 3rd, I finished it on the 11th. I mean, my excuse is that is Yalk. Like, Yalk happened in the middle of that. But the first book I read, I actually didn't have this physical copy when I read it because it just arrived 2 days ago, and it is The Duke and I by Julia Quinn. This is the first book in the Bridgerton series. I ordered the Fancy Illumicrate versions because they look so pretty when they're all together. Like, if you watch my haul video, you'll see them all, but they like have a house on the side of them. They are gorgeous. I wanted to have read at least one of them before they came so that I could see if I wanted to cancel the order before they shipped it, or if I was just going to try and pass them on to someone who did want them. And I'm happy to say that I did actually enjoy this, although I will preface this by saying that there are definite issues with this book in particular. So I gave this one a 3-star. It wasn't an amazing book by any means. Obviously a 3-star is very middle of the road. I think I'm going to enjoy the rest of this series a lot more, and that is what I've been told. I liked the writing style. I found it very quick and easy to read. I mean, I was listening to it, but it was just something that was very easy to get through. My issues with it are with a couple of the content things, so I'm not going to say too much because spoilers, but if you have watched the Netflix show or if you've read the book, you will know that there is one particular scene in here that deals with consent, and it is difficult to read and there is no justification for it whatsoever, and it is a bit strange that this thing happens within like the actual love story that you're supposed to be rooting for, because it does make it quite hard to be rooting for this love story. There's also some other bits in here that are a little bit uncomfortable to read from like a modern day setting. One of the ones that sticks out is that there is like an instance of fat phobia in here. Like the character of Penelope is plus size and it's not particularly described in a positive way in this book. What I will say is that obviously it is also historical fiction and it's set in a real world setting, so it's not like a fantasy that's loosely based on historical times, but you can kind of change it to fit whatever narrative you want and you can erase those things. Those sorts of things did exist, so whilst it's not comfortable to read from a modern day perspective, I'm also aware that like viewpoints at the time were different, so it probably is more like historically accurate. It's a bit strange. It's like it was uncomfortable, but it didn't completely take me out of it. I'm hoping that those things get a little bit better as it goes along as well. Also, like I said, I am invested more in some of the later love stories. Particularly the next one is the one I'm really excited for. Obviously it's what the latest Bridgerton series was based on and I really liked it. My other issue with this actually is that the TV show's done a few things that are different from the book, one being that it is more inclusive. So when I'm saying these things about this not being the most inclusive book, the TV show definitely is. It has actually made a point to be more inclusive in its casting, regardless of whether or not it would have been historically accurate. It's taken a route of going more inclusive, which is fantastic to watch. It also, with it being a TV show, it is more of an ensemble cast. So with the books, the love story that you are following in that book, you are reading from their perspective, so any other characters you only see if they interact with the main couple, whereas in the TV show you see all of the side characters in their individual stories, sort of preparing you for their main stories later on. So for example, going back to Penelope's going to be one of the lead characters in season 3. It's book number 4 because they swapped it around a little bit. She is mentioned like once in this book because she is a side character that is not particularly close to the Bridgerton sibling that this one is following. I would assume that in Eloisa's book she plays a bigger part because they are friends, but you don't see her at all in this. And to be honest, you don't see a lot of the other siblings. You see Anthony and Colin a fair amount, but the rest of them are kind of briefly mentioned because Daphne's not that close to them. And I really like those other characters, so it did miss them for me during this. But yeah, a solid start to a series. Possibly going to be one of my least favourites in the series, but I will definitely be carrying on, and I am happy that I've got the pretty set because they're just going to look gorgeous on my shelves. Okay, next up we have one that definitely did take me a while to get into. This is one that was right in the middle of the slump. I started reading it pre-Yalk, but then it was a post-Yalk slump that made me take ages to get through it, and that is The Falling in Love Montage by Kira Smith. So this is about a girl who's kind of got a lot going on in her life. She's getting over a relationship breakdown, but then she also is dealing with her mother's illness, but then she's also dealing with her mother's illness and a new relationship going on with her dad as well. And basically she doesn't want to get into a new relationship herself because she's feeling very jaded by the idea of love in general. But then she meets this girl who is obsessed with rom-coms and they decide to have a falling in love montage. So basically if you watch a rom-com, you have the falling in love montage and then you have the actual sort of like relationship end game at the end of it. They decide to only have the falling in love montage, so having all of the like cute dates and things in the middle, but it's not supposed to be leading on to anything afterwards. And I think part of the reason it took me a while to read this one as well is that when I went into it I thought it was going to be a more sort of fluffy rom-com style book. That is what it sounded like from the back. It mentions that her mother has an illness in this, but it's mentioned in like one brief sentence in the summary. It's actually a much bigger part of the storyline, and her kind of dealing with with that and dealing what it means for her own life and her own health is a big part of this. And it was really well handled and really well done, and I liked that part of the storyline, but I wasn't expecting that to be like the main part of the storyline. I wouldn't really call this a romance book necessarily. There is a love story in it, but although the name may say otherwise, that is not the main part of this book. I did, like I said, really enjoy this. I really like the characters. I did give it a 4-star just because it did take me a little bit of time to get into it. It took like over 100 pages to get to the actual setup of this book, and I feel like for a book that is only 300 and something pages long, it's like 380 pages long, it shouldn't take over a quarter of the book to get to the setup of it. But once I was invested, sort of for like the last 200 pages onwards, I really enjoyed it. So I am looking forward to reading more from this author. This author's other book was actually the one that I didn't get to on my TBR this month. I will be reading it eventually, but I don't think it's going to be immediately. I'm just kind of not in the mood for it right now, but I am looking forward to reading it at some point. Next up, we have my first 5-star read, my only new 5-star read of the month, and that is Fool's Assassin by Robin Hobb. I'm back with Fitz and I love it so much. This is the first book in the last trilogy in the Realm of the Eldlings. It's the third Fitz trilogy, and I can't give you any sort of synopsis about this because spoilers, but I love it so much. It is set at a later point in Fitz's life. I say later, he's like 40 something when it first starts, but he just spanned like at least 10 years in this book alone. So he's in his 50s, which like is like a medieval style fantasy setting. So that could potentially be pretty late on in an average lifespan, these people. I'm just gonna say it now, like I am very worried about whether or not Fitz will survive this trilogy, because I mean the last one's called Assassin's Fate. I just feel like I feel like the fact that this is the last trilogy makes me think that something's going to happen. I have no like reason to believe that story-wise necessarily, but I'm just worried, and it's making me sort of like savour every moment with him in this series. But no, I really liked this one. There is a new perspective in this. I, again, cannot tell you anything about who that perspective is because massive spoilers. But it's a character that I wouldn't even have considered for another POV, because for reference, all of these books generally have been first person Fitz perspective, whereas some of the other series, like the Life Ships and the Rainwild Chronicles, have been third person multi POVs. This has been one POV first person perspective all the way through, so it is interesting to get Fitz from another person's point of view, because he is so very much in his own head and a lot of times so oblivious to other things that are happening, that it's nice to see this other character pick up on things that maybe we've seen but not had confirmed. And yeah, I love this one so much. I liked the ending of it, has made me want to go straight on to the next one. I haven't managed to fit it onto my TBR for August, but I will be trying to read it if I can read everything else quite quickly, because as much as I don't want this series to finish, I really want to know what happens. And yeah, I just love this. 5 stars, definitely 5 stars, which is really good because all of the Rainwild Chronicles only got 4, so it's nice to be back with Fitz and back with a 5-star Robin Hobb read. Next up, we're getting to the point where I read some of my friends' favourites, and this one I enjoyed more than the next one we'll talk about, but I didn't enjoy it quite as much as I wanted to. It is Legends on Lattes by Travis Baldry. So this is about a character called Viv, who is an orc barbarian, and she decides to give up the fighting life and open a coffee shop in this town, and it is just about her kind of setting up this coffee shop and meeting characters along the way to set it up. And it's a cozy fantasy and it's cute and enjoyable, but I just wanted more from it. Like, I enjoyed it, I enjoyed the characters, but there was just a lot of description of setting up this coffee shop, and I felt like there was going to be a little bit more to the story, and then it just never really happened. I think this type of cozy fantasy isn't necessarily for me. I was saying to someone before, maybe I just don't like cozy fantasies, and they said, but you liked House in the Cerulean Sea, and I was like, yeah, but that still had like an actual storyline. Like in that, Linus is a cinnamon roll character that I just want to wrap up and protect, and it's cute and cozy in that way, but the storyline still had like higher stakes to it, whereas this, there was a bit of a storyline, but it wasn't like a high stakes story like you would normally get in a fantasy book. And I think that's what I was missing. I think if we had these characters and this general storyline, but then with just a little bit more drama, I would have enjoyed it more. I gave it a 4 stars. It was a lower end 4-star. Like, I was bordering between a 3 and a 4, but I decided to round it up. And yeah, I did enjoy it. It's just unfortunately not an all-time favourite. I don't have the level of love that that a lot of other people, some of my friends in particular, have for this book. And that's sad, but each to their own, which we're going to need to remember for this next book. Right, let's just get it out of the way. Sarah J Maas is not an author for me. I've read one book by her previously. It was her Catwoman book, which I know that even people who like Sarah J Maas do not like that book. But there were things in like the grammatical choices of the writing style, the way characters were built up in that I didn't like, and it kind of said to me, actually, I don't think I'm gonna like any of her books. And I unhauled everything that I owned, because I owned the first 3 books in the ACOTAR series, like the original trilogy, and I owned the first Throne of Glass book, and I unhauled them all and was just like, yeah, I'm gonna draw a line under it. I was then potentially interested in reading the first Crescent City book. When that first got announced, I was like, if there's any storyline that sounds intriguing to me, it's this one. And maybe with it being an adult book, it might be a bit different. The writing style might be a little bit more complex to fit the more like complex world building and things like that. I was willing to give it a go. Then when it got to my TBR mash earlier on in the year, where I let my friends pick what I was going to read, I did say to Liv, you can pick whatever you want. If you would like to pick Crescent City and Crave, you can feel free to do that. And lo and behold, that is exactly what she picked, and both of those have come up this month. And the first one that I decided to read was House of Earth and Blood. Right, I've done a whole reading vlog of this one, by the way. It was the last reading vlog that went up before this video, so it went up last Wednesday. If you want to go and watch it, feel free. I'm gonna try and I'm trying not to sound like too negative, because I do understand why people would like this book. That is the first thing I need to say. I do understand why some of my friends, most of my friends, really adore this book. This is very much not a book for me, and this is the sort of thing where obviously this was a different reason for me reading it. I read it because it was picked for me, but this is a thing where I'm like, I feel quite good about the fact that I do know my own reading taste, and I knew to stay away from this other than like it being picked. So basically we'll start with the grammatical things. The things that irritated me in the first book of hers that I read were still in this. For anyone who, I feel like it's less and less talked about now, but like back when I was watching BookTube like many years ago, when the Throne of Glass series was first coming out, Sarah J Maas was known for something called the M dash, which is basically just like a way that she chooses to like describe things. I'm trying to like, I need to find something that doesn't have spoilers, because it needs to be fairly early on because something big happens. But you can see sort of throughout the page, like whenever she wants to separate sentences, she puts this long dash, and it just makes it like a little bit clunky to read, because some of the sentences then end up being like really long and run on. And I didn't like that. But that is part of the reason why I listened to the audiobook instead. I thought, okay, I can combat that, I can ignore the grammatical choices and I can listen to it and it'll be better. And it was, I will say that. But also then some of the like word choices and the way of writing things was just not the best. Like, I do prefer a more flowery writing style, and she doesn't have that. It felt like the only way she knew how to emphasize something was to swear about it instead, which like I'm absolutely fine with some language in there, but it was just, it felt like, I saw a review somewhere where someone said it was like a teenager discovering swear words for the first time, and I'm like, yeah, that is pretty much what it felt like. I didn't love the characters in this. I understand that Bryce has gone through a lot, and I understand like some walls that she has up in this. I get all that. I still don't like her as a character. I felt like she had this sort of cool girl persona, and I knew nothing else really about her. Like, again, other than this sort of person who has been through a lot, I just felt like I didn't really know her as a character. And I think that was the same with all of them. Like, I just, other than the events that happen in this book, I don't feel like I know much else about the characters. Like, they don't feel like fully realised people to me. I don't know if that's making any sense. I also felt like the storyline just lasted a little bit too long. Like, this is a chunky book. I think it could have actually been a longer series and split, because I think it's because I believe it's supposed to be a trilogy, although it's not completely confirmed yet. But for me, it feels like it could have been like a longer series, maybe spread across like 5 or 6 books, because this just felt like there were quite a few points where it was like, you could have ended it here. And you could have ended it here and then like built upon it more in a second book, rather than it sort of something happening and then it was like another 50 pages and then another big event happened. And yeah, obviously I had quite a few issues with this book. I am very sorry if you love this book and I'm just like I'm just sort of like offloading on one of your favourites. Clearly this was not a book for me. Again, I will say, I do understand why some people would like this. I think it could be very easy to sort of get swept away with the story and just be very in this world. Whereas for me, because I wasn't enjoying it, I found it difficult to get swept away with the story, and I was just sort of pinned, and all I could sort of hear were the things that I didn't like. And yeah, I'm very sorry, but it's a 2-star. Luckily, I then went on to a palette cleanser and I reread one of my favourite books of all time, and that is Red, White and Royal Blue by Kate McQuiston. I do not need to say much about this book. I love it so much. It's gonna sound like I'm just saying the opposite to the last one. I love the characters in this. I adore both of the main characters with my whole heart, but also all of the side characters as well. Like, it's such... Casey McQuiston does friendship groups so well, where you like absolutely adore every character that's involved, not just the ones that you are mainly following. I also really particularly love this book because I love all the politics side of things. I am the sort of person who follows the news a lot and reads into politics. American politics in particular really intrigues me for some reason. I think it's because I'm like a step away from it a little bit, that I just kind of read it and I'm always like, that I just kind of read about it and I'm always just like mind blown by the like ridiculousness of some of it. But the re-election storyline in this, because I am quite interested in the American political system, that really grabs my attention as well. The romance is adorable. I love it so much. And yeah, I'm not going to say much else. It's a 5-star. It literally, every time I read it, I find something new in it that I love. And I think this is the first time I've reread it since using Corpile, and it got 10s for everything, because there is nothing like because there is nothing personally for me that is wrong with this book. But this is the one sort of opposite from the last one though. Like, I'm saying it's perfect for me. I can understand like bits of this that people wouldn't like, but for me this is a perfect book. I love this so much, and I put it down and immediately wanted to start rereading it. But I didn't. I may reread One Last Stop soon though instead, and I Kiss Shara Wheeler, and then I can loop back around to this one when the special edition hardcover comes out with extra bonus content later on in the year. Right, that is everything that I've actually finished at the minute. What I'm going to do is hold up the 2 books that I'm still in the middle of, give you like brief thoughts on where I'm at the minute, and then I will insert the clips of hopefully when I finish them later on today. So the first one that I'm hoping to finish is The Intimacy Experiment by Rosie Dannon. I could not tell you a synopsis of this because it will spoil The Roommate. It is a companion book to The Roommate. If you have these, read The Roommate first. And neither of these books tells you particularly the specifics of the setup on the back of them. They are both very sort of like loosely, they're both like tell you sort of the basics of it, but there is like one key element that is missed out from the synopsis of both of these, and that is why I'm not talking about what this is actually about. I'm only about 50 pages in so far, but I am enjoying it. It's only 300 and something. I think I can finish it today, hopefully. I really like the character that this is following. She's called Naomi. She was in the first book. She works with some of the characters from the first book, and I really enjoyed her in that book, and it's nice seeing a new perspective of her in this. Like, you've seen her, she was sort of just like this badass character in the first one, and you're seeing her like more as a fully rounded human, and I'm very much enjoying it so far. So I will insert a clip here of hopefully when I finish it later on and have more full thoughts. Yeah, I didn't actually get around to finish reading this one. I didn't actually pick it up at all. I didn't have time. I was cleaning my room and I just had time to listen to the audiobook of Crave instead. I obviously have already added it into the stats, so I will give you thoughts on next month's wrap up, but I will not add it in the stats because I am still planning on finishing it today. It's just that it is now the 1st of August and this video is going up at 4 p.m. It is like 12 p.m. and I need to get this clip finished, so I'll give you actual thoughts next month. I then am also reading Crave by Tracy Wolfe. I cannot actually tell you how far in I am to this because I've been listening to the audiobook. I want to say about 60 pages because I think I'm up to about chapter 8, which is where I am there. I'm enjoying this so far. This one is definitely cheesy. Like, the Sarah J Maas one had a cheesy writing style, which is something I couldn't get behind. This feels like it knows it's cheesy and it isn't taking itself too seriously, which I'm enjoying a lot more. I know Liv did say that this is not like Twilight, but I'm getting major Twilight vibes from it, but like not quite as creepy, if that makes sense. Like, it starts off with her traveling from a warm city where she used to live up to Alaska, and she's going to Denali. There is literally a Denali clan in Twilight, but now she's at this like boarding school where there are vampires. I'm assuming the vampires, it hasn't been confirmed yet, but like that it is a vampire story, and she's met this guy, and it has got this like you need to stay away from me type vibe to it. But so far it doesn't feel creepy like guy who's over 100 stalking someone outside the bedroom window vibes that Twilight had. It feels more fun instead, and I'm hoping it doesn't progress down that route. But yeah, I am actually enjoying this one so far. I'm listening to the audiobook and reading along. The audiobook, with the speed I'm listening to it at the minute, is only about 5 hours, and I should be able to increase it a little bit because I'm going to actually physically read along now. I was listening to it on the way to work the other day, whereas now I can sit in the house and read along with it. So hopefully I should get through both of these today, if not like tomorrow morning, and then I'd still be able to upload this tomorrow afternoon. Fingers crossed. If I have finished it, I will insert a clip here. Okay, so I have just finished reading Crave by Tracy Wolf. I'm giving this one a 4-star. I actually enjoyed this. It was ridiculous and over the top, but I did enjoy it. I will carry on with the rest of the series because there was a cliffhanger at the end of this, and I need to see what happens. I feel like this is the sort of series where there's going to be a cliffhanger at the end of every book. I don't know if I'll necessarily buy them all physically. I know that apparently the publishing rights are changing for the UK, so I might not be able to get them all physically. I just enjoyed the audiobooks. I don't know if it's a series I'm ever going to like reread. That's kind of my thoughts on it. It was enjoyable for what it was. I had a good time, but it's not like a new favourite series. It was just a fun ride. I don't know if that makes sense, but because I had very cheesy, very over the top. It was a YA vampire story, so pretty much what you can expect. There was a very dramatic love story in there that definitely had a touch of insta love to it, but again, a YA vampire story is what I expect. I know people obviously always ask, is it like Twilight? It's got a very Twilight cover. I've heard people say it isn't. I think it is, but not in a bad way. Like, it's not as creepy as Twilight. I feel like the main female character was a lot more aware of the situation than in Twilight, so it's not as creepy as that. But just in terms of like the angst and the sort of dramaticness of their love for each other, it's definitely got Twilight vibes. There's definitely influences from it. Probably the main reason why I'm not giving this 5 stars is that because it is very cheesy, it's very over the top, and whilst I enjoyed that, it is in no means like a perfect book, or even like a perfect book for me. It's probably like there were times when I was cringing just a little bit reading it. Also, it's very, very pop culture reference heavy, and like the language that is used as well, like it's clearly written for this era's teens, which I am not. Like, I am well out of my teen years now. And like there was one thing where it was described something as like something AF, and I'm just like, this is not going to do well. Like in 10 years time, this is going to feel like really old with some of the references that are in here. And I'm sure there are plenty of books from my teen years that have references in them that are really, really outdated now, which is absolutely fine. But obviously reading it as not someone of the generation that it is written for, those sort of references pull me out a little bit. Although it's one of those weird things as well where it's clearly someone who's older than the group that writing for making the references, because like the things that are being referenced, I'm like, I feel like your target age group is actually already, I feel like your target age group is too young for these references. But yeah, like I said, I had a good enough time. Thank you to Liv for recommending this to me. I hope that the 4-star for this redeems the rating that I gave your other choice for my TBR. So this is all the books that I read during the month of July. Definitely a smaller stack than usual, although I have got some chunkers on there, which is a good thing. And I've got a reread of a favourite. I still feel like I did fairly well considering how much I was slumping during this month, because yeah, the struggle was definitely real, but I am disappointed that my average rating was a lot lower than usual. Hopefully that's going to pick up now, because I've got past a book that was like really intimidating me and unfortunately didn't love. But anyway, that is everything. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff down below. Let me know what your favourite book was that you read in the month of July, and I will see you guys next time with a new video. Bye.